Hi, I am Rafael Nodal and welcome to another edition of the Cigar Life. Today in the Cigar Break we have our fantastic friend, team person from Altadis USA, and Jeff Borysiewicz from Corona Cigar, Davidoff of Tampa, and Florida Song Run. Welcome guys, welcome.
Thank you, Rafa.
What's happening, fellas?
Well, we had so much fun last Sunday at the cigar marathon that we said we need to have Jeff back, and this time we are very pleased that our good friend is team person is joining us, and I'm gonna start with an obvious question. Jeff, where are you? Is that like a image, or is that like a real thing?
No, man, this is the real stuff right here. I'm sitting in
yeah.
the field. I figure I'd come to you live from the farm since I'm going to be out here today. So,
there you go.
Man, with technology, we can do this anywhere now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic tobacco. Looks fantastic. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. The Florida Sun Grown. And Tim, where are you these days?
Today I'm in New Jersey. I'm at the Belvedere Cigar Lounge. One of my good friends, even though we're social distancing, he let me use his lounge to do our great show today.
Oh, fantastic. That is great to hear. Today we have a fantastic show, guys. We're going to be talking about smoking some cigar, but also I asked Jeff, which is a connoisseur, and also Tim, to talk a little bit about scotches, single malt, compared to a blend and things like that. That as you guys know, I'm a rum guy. I've been recently learning a little bit about this. First of all, what are you smoking, Tim?
I'm smoking our new Romeo Reserve Real Nicaraguan.
Oh, that is a fantastic cigar.
This will be released on May 15th.
It's going to be arriving to your favorite tobacconist guide in around May 15th. So in the middle of this stay at home and social distancing, we still are able to bring you some fantastic cigar. And the Romeo and Juliet Reserva Real is an extension of the Reserva Real Dominican, and this is the Nicaraguan origin. And what are you smoking, Jeff?
Well, I'm smoking the Florida Copan Special cigar
blend,
the on the
Jeff,
trip, right?
Jeff blend. That
right?
is, and it seems very appropriate with that tobacco in the back. So tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the tobacco that Florida Sun Grown, because you know I used to say Jeff from Corona Cigar, but it's now Jeff from Corona Cigar, from Tampa, Davidoff, and from Florida Sun Grown. Tell us a little bit about the Florida Sun Grown and that tobacco where you are right now.
Well, right now we're in the field, and this tobacco is coming up about 70 days in the ground. So it's, you can see it's kind of above my head here. We've topped this already. It means we popped the flower off, and we'll be coming through here and probably starting the first harvest on these bottom leaves. Matter of fact, look, watch how I'm just to show this is real.
Oh, this is nice. I love it.
Here, I just popped that one off. That's
wow.
a good sized leaf. That's what we like. So these are about ready to harvest. All right.
Look at that, guys. The Florida Sun Grown. So last week, Jeff told us a little bit about the history of tobacco in Florida. Tell us again quickly, Jeff, about the history of tobacco in Florida, and you have been able to recoup that. I think you're perhaps the only one growing tobacco right now for premium cigars, right?
We are, because I'm the only one crazy enough to do this, man. But, this stuff has been going on. They did it for 150 years, but they had to stop back in the 70s just because, it wasn't feasible with the prices of labor compared to Central America. But, we brought it back, and it just brought it back for having a unique product that we can blend into cigars again. Just something different and special in a small way, by the way. This farm is 20 acres, but, you take where the barns are and there's a pond and things like that. There's about 15 acres that you can actually grow the tobacco on. And we grow usually about 5 acres per season. So, we don't grow a lot of it. So when we call it like a micro blend or a boutique or something craft, this is the real deal. It's very small production, but that's that's the way you got to do it when things are
Right,
very
right.
expensive here.
But you have done some interesting things with that tobacco so far. So you have not only right now the Florida Sun Grown as well that you blend in Nicaragua, but you also, I believe you have done some Davidoff also with that Florida Sun Grown.
Yeah. So we have Davidoff has the Florida selection, which was sold to all their white label accounts. And then we've got some exclusive ones like a Davidoff Tampa version that has exclusive just for our Tampa stores. So we have a Davidoff Tampa FSG, and then we did a Corona 20th anniversary one with FSG too. And all three of those are different blends because, under the Davidoff, they have the stuff with the Ecuadorian shade wrapper, and then they got stuff that's got the Habano type of wrapper. So, you know how you have the black band portfolio. So that's what the Florida selection and the Davidoff Tampa FSG are kind of in that strength category. And then the Corona 20th anniversary is more like in the sort of like what a special R would be, but with Florida Sun Grown in it. So it makes it taste very unique.
That is great. And by the way, so Tim, tell us a little bit. We're going to be doing a fantastic new project that you couldn't wait. This guy has just been a crazy Jeff. He wanted to talk about it. We wanted to have it on the wrap a little bit. We mentioned something kind of quickly the last Sunday, but I tell you, Tim is very excited as all of us are. Tell us a little bit, Tim.
Well, Jeff is a great partner of ours. One of the best guys, that I've worked with in the industry over the last 8 years. I mean, I've known him for the last 8 years. We've developed a good partnership with Altadis USA and Corona Cigar. So one thing that we're looking to do is, celebrate something great. What we're going to do is do a Monte Cristo FSG with Florida Sun Grown tobacco with Rafael Nodal.
Monte Cristo, Florida Sun Grown. We are going to start working on that project. We actually started on the talking about it, and we finally got, we're going to do it now. Now we're going to start working on the blend, and we're going to work with our partners in that. And that's something that we are really excited. If it wasn't for this quarantine, right, that we are doing at home, we will have been working as right now on the blend and getting the tobacco from the factory that is, I believe, in Nicaragua, that you have it been fermented and aged, right, Jeff?
Yes. So we send our tobacco always goes to Nicaragua and then sometimes to Dominican Republic when we send it to Davidoff. But Nicaragua is where most of it goes because we have Drew Estate that makes our Florida Sun Grown. J.C. Newman takes the wrapper that makes the American. And then our friends at Aganorsa, Eduardo Fernandez makes our Corona 20th anniversary, Army of Angels, and Intensa with it. So those are we've always partnered with people that we feel that we can trust and people that we know have great tobaccos to work with as well and can make great cigars. So I'm looking forward to coming out with that Monte Cristo FSG. I mean, Tim had shown me some really cool stuff. I don't know, it was almost a year or two ago. And we just weren't in the position of having enough tobacco to do anything. So, I had this, I always wanted to do this for the last couple of years. I'm like, I think that we'll be able to peel off some tobacco and make some nice Monte Cristo FSG. So I'm looking forward to it. And Rafael, we're excited about having you part of it. You're the maestro now, and I'm happy for you. So that's cool.
Someone said this is an overnight success, and so it's been a long night. So about that,
yeah, people just don't know your history, and I tell them all the time. I said, man, Rafael's been doing this a long time. I mean, we've been, I don't know if you want to talk about when you were with Oliveros and stuff, but I mean, I was a customer of yours a long time ago, selling long ladies and I don't know if you remember mulattoes and stuff like that. So I mean, we used to sell a lot of those. So
one thing that I really enjoy in the industry, Jeff, and obviously we talked before a lot about the difficulties that I went through in the business at the beginning, because blending cigars and making cigars is not an easy thing, as you know, and many other manufacturers have tried. It's a difficult thing. I thought it was going to be just building and they'll come, but first of all, you have to build something good, and there's a learning process. It made me a very humble person, because I know the difficulties that all the others, fantastic manufacturers have gone through, people that I really love, and I look forward. So I went through that, and it was something very difficult. And I met you from the beginning. Our good friend Paul Hernandez, that introduced us, used to rep our account, and really him with many other reps help us a lot. And then the Oliveros and the Swag, and finally the aging room. And now with Altadis USA, now part of Tabacalera USA, have found at home fantastic partners like you, Tim, and friends that have been there for a long time. So being able to work now in a different capacity with all of you, for me, is a real treat, you know.
Hey, let me tell you a little special promotion we're doing. Me and Rafa were working on something with Corona Cigar. So at the 4 Corona locations, as they open back up with the essential personnel, if you spend $19.99 on Romeo Monte Cristo Asian Room cigar, you'll receive the #1 cigar of the year as a gift from us. And
oh, wow. Can you say that again? I'm not sure I heard it very well.
Yeah, so Tim, that's a real cool thing. So I just want to piggyback real quick on our stores. Tomorrow is when our downtown store will be officially open. Downtown Orlando, you know, we've had the stay-at-home orders, and so I'm excited that our downtown Orlando store will be finally open tomorrow, and we will be serving in a very limited capacity bar service as well. So we're all of our locations are spooling back up. We still got to close by 10 o'clock at night because there's still a curfew, which I think will be lifted next week. But Tim, one more time, so people can hear that deal, because that's a hell of a deal. Let me, before you do it real quick, aging room, cigar of the year. Can't get these things, right? So this is a different size, but still, it's the aging room cigar of the year, and that's what we're going to be giving out. So Tim, hit it one more time.
Okay, so if you come to any of the 4 Corona stores, you spend $19.19 on a Romeo Monte Cristo, Aging Room, H. Upmann, any of our brands, just one cigar. As long as you spend $19.19, you get the #1 cigar of the year.
Gratis.
On half of Rafael Nodal, Altadis USA, and Corona cigars.
So what you got to do, though, you got to mention, say, hey, listen, man, I saw these guys on Sunday, or I saw them over the internet, on Facebook, or wherever you saw this, YouTube. Just when you go to the counter, tell our guys, say, hey, man, can I get that cigar of the year deal that you got? So we've got 400 sticks, I believe. So
yes,
we've got a nice little supply there between each of the stores, and allow us. They'll be at the stores probably Monday afternoon. All right.
yes.
So if you guys come to any of the stores Monday, Tuesday, you should have a great chance of getting one of those cigars, FREE. And so that's nice. That was a nice deal that you guys did there.
Absolutely. No, I have to say, Tim came out with that, and I appreciate it, Tim. That's a fantastic idea. And that's what this partnership. Listen, people are going through tremendous difficult time. Our retailers are going through tremendous difficult times. And I feel this is a time to pull together, to help the retailers, to help the consumers, that everybody is difficult, and to celebrate that you're opening tomorrow. So Jeff, tell us about the 3 stores and now the 4th one in Tampa. Tell us a little bit about, for those people that are not familiar with all of the different stores.
Yeah, so Corona Cigar Company, we actually started out as a mail order company, sending out catalogs, and then with our online store, coronacigar.com. And then, we got this really super store over on Sand Lake Road, and it's in what used to be the tourist area. Hopefully in a few weeks it will be the tourist area.
It will be again.
It's over in Dr. Phillips area, so it's like near where Arnold Palmer has this golf course with the Bay Hill and Universal Studios and International Drive. All that stuff's real close to us, and there's a great community there too. So we've got a lot of great neighbors that come in, and finally, I'll tell you what, guys have really missed being able to sit outside and smoke a cigar. I'm telling you, they have really missed it. I mean, people, they started dragging chairs out in the back, hiding in the back by the dumpster and stuff, and smoking their cigars, because people it's hard to say, hey, you can't go out of the house and see your buddies anymore. So, but it'll be nice to be able to unlock the chairs and let people sit outside starting tomorrow without having the risk of, the sheriff coming and arresting everybody. So that's happening. And then downtown, it'll be nice to be able to have, cigars and chairs outside there too. We're practicing the 6 feet apart, social distancing and all that stuff. But still, be nice to be able to sit outside and enjoy the beautiful Florida weather and kind of get back to normal. And I've always said, listen, being out in the sun, I'm straight up in the sun right now. So if my iPad quits, it means it's because it's overheated. But I'm directly in the sun, and I'm telling you, sunshine is the best thing for you during all this stuff. It kills the virus, it vitamin D in your body. Fresh air outside. I've said it. You know, if you look back what they did during the Spanish flu in 1918, heck, they put the hospital beds outside because they knew it was helping people. So anyway, we look forward to getting back and having cigars outside. Davidoff has their furniture out. We put the furniture out in Tampa too. Tommy's got it all ready to go. And so people will be able to sit outside and have a cigar there. And Heathrow, they're all set to go too. So we're looking. I am so excited about this. Looking forward to getting back to having people smoke a cigar and be able to, you know, not freak out. So let's see what happens.
I am really looking forward to be able to really again go into the store, to the lounge, to sit down outside and have a cigar. You know, I was talking to someone yesterday about you know, sometimes where I travel a lot as those team and you know, sometimes we complain, oh my God, it's always at home, you know, always out of the home, never been able to spend some time with the family. And now I say, wow, I miss those days.
Right.
I can't wait.
You got to have balance. That's what it's all about, man. It's about balancing between traveling, at home. You know, you have too much of one thing, and it's not good. Sure. Tim, you're going to chime in on that.
Oh no, I was going to say also another great project we're working on. We're working on a Corona anniversary cigar out of La Flor de Copan. It's going to be under the Romeo flagship line. Look for this, guys. This is going to be something really special. We're really proud of our Copan factory. Jeff and myself were visiting there. Ironically, it was right before all this happened.
Right.
I was thinking about that on my drive on the way over here. We were going through the airport, and then it was kind of eerie, you know, coming back, and then, you know, boom, you know, this COVID-19 happened. But, you know,
listen, don't use the word eerie. Tim was scared shitless, bro. I'm telling you right now, when we got back, you know, because we just got done going through Honduras, and where did we fly into? Miami from there, right? Yeah, we flew into Miami. Miami, you went back up north. And, you know, the last place you wanted to be was an airport, especially an international one like Miami, where stuff's coming in from everywhere. So when Tim got back home, man, he was like freaking out, thinking, I got the virus. So, man, you got to be relieved that you don't, and that we're, you know, we're all okay.
Yeah, no, we're extremely happy of that factory. And I'm glad, as I mentioned last week, I'm glad that you, Jeff, and Tim were able to visit. Tim have been there. This is like a diamond on the road, right? This is a factory not a lot of people know, but it's frankly an amazing factory because it's a very integrated. They grow the tobacco, they ferment it, they age the tobacco, and also the people, right? There's something about the culture, right? They just love having people there. And I guess what happened is it is so separated from everything, right? Because most people in the factories, most factories in Honduras are in the Danlí area. So Santa Rosa is very far from that area. There's only one factory. And so not a lot of people visit there, but it's a factory that has been in business now for 45 years. 40,
something like that,
yeah. So it's something amazing. And another thing is the people. We have people there working. And we had Elmer Suarez last week with us. And Elmer has been there for 30 years, right? That's an amazing accomplishment because, you know, in business here in the United States, people change very often. Most of the time, there are also people that have been there. But in most factories, both in Tabacalera Garcia, which is celebrating its maybe 51 year, there are people with 40. Actually, in Tabacalera de Garcia in Dominican Republic, we have over 300 people that have been there more than 20 years. That's an amazing thing, right? So, and then the way to see how they work and how dedicated they are to the craftsmanship and how appreciative they are of people that visit, right, Jeff? Something that was amazing.
Well, I thought that
go ahead, Tim.
No, I just thought that when we went, I mean, you hear a lot of things, different places, but the reception that we got there from the people, from Elmer and his staff, Joel, the office managers, Nidia, her group, and all the rollers in boutique, the different people they did. It was really just an adventure. I mean, that was like 2 days like just cut off from the rest of the world, It was just a great adventure, and definitely one of my trips, the best trips of my lifetime. And to work, it was great.
Well, let's be honest, man. Tim, this was emotional for you too when he saw these people. I said when someone started doing all the dances and stuff, Tim was almost in tears, man. He goes, I can't believe how special. They were really. I've never had a reception like that where the factory workers, man, I tell you what, they were so happy to have visitors appreciating their hard work, which we did. And so
they are.
that was really special. And
I do
believe by being isolated like that, there is something special, but also there's something special the way that culture was built in that factory that I don't think I've seen before. And that's, hats off to Elmer and everybody else at Florida Coupon for making that happen.
Absolutely. That's something that you don't see every day. And that's something that we are extremely proud of, that factory and our people there. So Jeff, tell me a little bit before we go. By the way, guys, I asked Jeff and Tim to talk a little bit today about scotches and whiskey, which is something that is new to me. And in addition to Jeff know a lot about cigars and now about tobacco. I remember Jeff, Nestor Andres Plasencia, which is part of a family, have been growing tobacco for 154 years. He was so impressed he visited your place there, and he came back just talking a lot about what you were doing. So tell me, how did you get involved in the tobacco growing? How did that come in? What was the train of thought for that?
I would have to say my mentor was really Eduardo Fernandez, owner of Aganorsa and Casa Fernandez. When he bought the company from Tabacalera Tropical from Pedro Martin, Pedro and I were good friends. And there was during the transition when he bought that, Pedro and Eduardo both invited me to go to Nicaragua. And that's where I met Pepin as well. Pepin was their blender at the time. And I just, Eduardo and I would spend like a week just driving around Nicaragua, not just tobacco, but we'd go to his hog farm and his slaughterhouse he was building and his cows and rice and all this other stuff. And so he's a real agronomist and really in agriculture in Nicaragua. And I've always had a passion for it. I just, but I'm a farm to be helping out Sino and audio and all the guys over there around. He's passed away since then, but these are old Cubans that grew tobacco their entire life. I'm talking about since they were kids until they died. These guys were involved in cigar tobacco. And Eduardo was like, listen, here's the Corojo 99, here's the Criollo 98. This is the seed we grow. Take this and gave me some technical advice, and we started from there. But we had to figure it out on our own because what they do in Nicaragua doesn't work
very
here,
different, right?
Yeah, what I do here doesn't work there. I mean, it's totally different. So we figured it out. But the one thing that I like, there really is farmers in general because they're more involved and don't have anybody. If anybody's running into problems or has advice, everybody, talk amongst each other. This and everybody's always excited to see something new. I mean, like drip irrigation, we kind of had to use it here, along with what we call plastic mulch.
Right.
And then shortly after that, everybody in Nicaragua started going to it, and I saw it in the Dominican Republic. But even in some countries like that, it may or may not be the best way to do it. We need drip irrigation because
right, Jeff. Let me just say that we're having a little bit of sound problem for a second, and I think the area. I just want to say to our viewers that Jeff is live in the farm, and so these things happen with I think we're having some problem with the sound, and
okay.
Tim, you can hear us well.
Yeah, I got you fine, man. You guys are good at me. Yeah.
Okay.
How about me? Can you hear when I was talking?
I can hear you now,
Yes, you went in and out, but now you're fine. That's why I wanted to interrupt and try to get back to that to that as well. So it looks like now you're fine. So how many years have you been growing now in total, Jeff? Which this season that you have now there that you're sitting there, how many years? What crop is this? What number?
I would say we've been doing it for 7 years, and we're on our 11th crop. And
what
so
have you learned? What have you learned?
Every crop we learn, believe it or not, every single time. I don't think you can do things. I mean, when I showed me 3 years ago, where she said, "Listen, I work from anything that works in Cuba works here because we're the same type of climate. We're 110 feet above sea level, which is exactly what they are in Pinar del Rio. And altitude makes a big difference, by the way. When you're up in the 100 feet above sea level. So it gets cooler at night. Things are totally different. So he's like, listen, we use composted horse manure. So we started bringing in truckloads of horse manure, composted horse manure, and then, you put it spread all over the fields, and let's see how it reacts with that. Because you also don't want to make a problem. You could find that there's something in that causes a fungus that we didn't have before. So you've got to tap things one at a time. And so every year, there's little things that we will test. Matter of fact, I just had we're in the Department of Agriculture, it's called the BMP program, which is for best management practices. And there's a lot of attention on agriculture in Florida right now, especially water and fertilizer. So we're enrolled with the state where we're watching the quantities of water and fertilizer that we use. And they were just out here last week, giving us a little tips on a couple of things that we can do on our drip lines. And so every season we're doing different things. Just trying to get that little last, once you get it right, you can make small things to maybe make it a little better. You can always do better. But at this point, anything we do is sort of incremental in what it's going to do. Because the tobacco is fired plenty. So we're in the
Okay, so it looks like we are losing Jeff as well in the sound. Then if you can just check the sound, perhaps Jeff, if you can disconnect the again from the computer and put it back, perhaps. In the meantime, Tim, tell me a little bit about what we're going to be drinking today. I asked Jeff to talk a little bit about Scotch and some from whiskey, single malt or blended. What are you drinking, Tim? What are you going to show us today?
Right now, I'm drinking a Lagavulin limited edition, distilled in 2003, bottled in 2019. It's a limited edition Lagavulin. I'm also sipping some of a Corona private label single barrel from Russell's Reserve, which is a bourbon. Just doing a little comparison on both. Really good. Again, it depends what you like. I mean, I tend to switch up in what I'm drinking, during the day. But during the day, I prefer Scotch. At night, I prefer a little bit of bourbon or whiskey myself.
Right. Jeff, let's see how's your sound back. And what are you having there?
All right. So here's the deal. I brought a little bar out here in the middle of this tobacco row. So we've got Islay, a Lefroy. So we're going to have something nice and smoky from Scotland.
Okay.
Single malt. Then we're going to go up. We're going to take a ride up to the Highlands, and we're going to get a nice little Speyside, a very good representation of a Speyside single malt with a Glenfarclas 17.
Oh,
wow. So one question, as I'm going to pour myself a little bit of a Scotch question. Do you always put ice to open up a here that is important on the Scotch or not always?
So for me, I normally put a little ice in it. But since I'm at the farm, I don't have an ice machine here.
No ice machine there.
So I'm going to put a little water in it. But then we're going to a little bit now. We're going to continue up that road, follow the River Spey north, and we're going to go hit up here to the Glenfiddich distillery. Glenfiddich, Balvenie are side by side. and right across the River Spey is where Macallan is. So there's a lot of distilleries in that area. And then finally, we're going to take a long drive all the way to the top of Scotland, and we're going to have to jump on a ferry. And we're going to have to go up to the Orkney Islands. And I've got a tiny bit left of this Highland Park 25. I've had
God.
Oh, that's
bottle.
good. That's good.
That sounds like a wonderful, wonderful trip. So I did not want to feel left behind. So I got some Macallan rare cask.
There you go.
And I'm going to have it with a little bit of ice. I wasn't sure whether to put the ice or not. It's good to hear. Many people have told me that it's good to open up a little bit, right?
So here's the deal. They always say, this is my theory, okay? In Scotland, they don't put it on ice.
Right.
But the reason being, they're always cold as shit up there. They're freezing, right? So that's why they drink tea all the time. They want to warm up. So they don't, listen, they drink Coca-Cola with no either. I don't know whether that's because they don't want it cold or because they're cheap, because they don't want to get ripped off paying for ice instead of Coke. Because believe it or not, in Scotland, Coca-Cola is more expensive than beer. So anyway, they don't give you free refills up there either. So that's why just do it. I always taste it though, Rafael, though. I'll go neat first before I even put any water in it. So this is and also these Glencairn glasses are awesome if you for drinking the whiskey. But Lefroy, this is from Islay. And what are you starting with, Tim? Didn't you say Lagavulin?
Lagavulin, yeah, from it, yes.
So Lagavulin's from Islay as well. Islay is an island that's sort of in the southwestern corner of Scotland. You got to take a ferry to go there, and it's absolutely beautiful. If you want to go, check it out. It's a long haul though; it takes a while to get there. But anyway, on that island, there's distilleries everywhere. Lefroy, Lagavulin, Ardbeg, Bowmore. There's several more that I can't think off the top of my head. But the thing is everything that comes off of the island of Islay is heavily peated. They cut the peat from the ground there. That's what they use that as the fuel to dry the single malt. To stop the malting process, you have to apply heat. And malting is when you take the barley, they wet it just a little bit and it germinates so that the barley cracks and starts to sprout, but you got to stop that. So you got to heat it. So over there, they'll burn peat and they'll measure it by parts per million of smoke that's actually in that malt. And so when they make the whiskey, it's a real smoky nose to it. So Tim, you got your Lagavulin?
Yes, sir.
Let me just remind our viewers that we are finishing the first half an hour and we're moving on to the second half an hour of the cigar live cigar break with we have today our good friend Tim Person from Altadis USA, and Jeff is visiting us from directly from the action, the Florida Sun-Grown Farm, and is talking to us a little bit about his journey as Corona Cigar, Davidoff of Tampa, and as well as the Florida Sun-Grown. And also we are talking, and I'm learning a lot because I am not a Scotch drinking. I've been learning a little bit. So he's taking us on the journey a little bit of a trip in Scotland, and that's something that I really enjoy because Jeff and team, some of the things that we as cigar people are, we always looking for the best pairing, the best blend, the next thing, and we are people that explore, right, Jeff?
Yes, and let me tell you a little thing. How did I get involved in Scotch whiskey? You know how they the best way to learn Spanish is to have a girlfriend that's from a Spanish speaking country, right?
So I hear.
So Tanya, my wife, is from there. So I've obviously spent a lot of time in Scotland, and when she wants to go back and visit family, I want to go back and visit distilleries. So we always have when we go. So that's why I know a little bit about it, because I've literally traveled from there's a place in the north called John O'Groats, and you go south and you run into England down there. So but there's distilleries that literally dot that country from the southern part, which they'll call the lowland scotches, and Auchentoshan is probably one of the most notable ones from the lowland area. and then just work up your way up into the mountains and keep on going until you hit the islands. So there's a lot of, each region has a different flavor. So since Rafael, you're into the Macallan, that's a Speyside one. Now I'm gonna pour. I brought 2 glasses here, so I'm gonna pour a Glenfarclas, which would be, Rafael, which Macallan do you have again?
Well, I have 2. I have the Macallan Rare Cask Batch number 1, and I also recently have been learning a little bit about the different Macallans 18th cherry, the cask series.
Yeah.
So this one is the cherry cask. I love cherry. I love rum that have been aged in cherry cask. So I've been in this too.
So let me show you something real quick while you're talking about the cask. Real interesting. Let me get this Lefroy, and I want to show you between the 2 glasses. A sherry cask is an Oloroso sherry was in it, right?
Right.
And what sherry is a deep dark purple or red, right?
Right.
The Lefroy is actually part of the Beam Global Company. So Lefroy gets a lot of its barrels, American oak barrels, which are from Baker's Mark, Jim Beam, Knob Creek, every Russell's, or anything that they have up there. Those barrels get sent to Scotland. Now I want you to see the 2. I don't know if you can tell in the sun here, but
yes, we can.
Okay, look to the left. This here has more of a little reddish tint to it.
Right.
That's the Glenfarclas. Glenfarclas uses the cask in butts. Over here, that's American oak.
Right.
Okay. See how this is a little lighter in color, even though they're both. But when you're drinking the Macallan anything, and now Macallan also does oak finish. They have oak finish and they have sherry finished.
Right.
So you'll know flavor and a different color based on what kind of barrels or casks that they put it in. So I'm going to hit the Glenfarclas, which is a sherry, unpeated. So when you smell this, it's got a much more sweet and floral smell to it, and there's no smokiness to it, because pretty much everything in the Spey region uses malted barley that was heated up using natural gas. So that way you don't have any of the smoke that's in it. Now, occasionally, like Balvenie has, they've done some experimentals, but pretty much everything you're going to get from a Speyside is not going to be smoky. And most people have never had Scotch before. But usually the non-heating is more approachable. Half glass of that, and
so we appear to having a little bit more problems with the audio right now. Again, Tim, tell me when did you start drinking Scotch, and when did you start getting an appreciation for the different type of Scotch?
Well, we used to do a thing with Altadis USA. We used to do the Single Malt Scotch Society, which started like in the early 2000s. So I was lucky enough to do it when we had it in Philadelphia. It was from 2002 to like 2013, 14. So that's when I started to get an appreciation of the different scotches that were not the ones that are out now, but some of the other earlier ones. So that's when I started getting more heavier into it. And actually, working with Jeff and one of his managers, Tommy, if you ever want to know anything, I mean, all his managers are great, but Tommy, the one at the Davidoff store, Tommy is great on, he worked at Del Frisco's. He's unbelievable. With him and Angel, they're unbelievable in their knowledge of whiskeys and scotches. So I definitely say if you want to know something or learn something, stop in and see one of those guys at one of the Corona stores. They're all pretty knowledgeable on all the products that Jeff has, especially the scotch.
Right. So going back, Jeff, let's see if we have a better connection now. So going back to the different of the 2 ones that you had, the oak barrels and the sherry barrels. One has no smoky flavor at all or aroma. And tell us a little bit about the one in the cherry.
Okay, so the smokiness comes from how the peat, whether they use peat to heat up the malt or whether they use natural gas. So just think of it this way. If you are cooking something in the oven versus cooking it in a smoker. You're going to get the smoke when you're cooking it over the woods, right? So it's the same way. So when you take barley's a grain, it looks like wheat. And if you had to heat it up using just indirect heat versus smoke, that's how you get the different flavors. So your Spey region does not use the peat to heat it up, all right? Now, get into casks. Casks is a different story. That's the type of wood it's going in. And remember, these are refilled barrels. They're not new. They're refilled. So when you take the bourbon barrel and you refill it, there's always a lot of bourbon still stuck in the wood, all right? And so that's when you refill it with the Scotch whiskey, it's going to pull the taste from that wood. So if you have a sherry cask or a sherry butt, you're going to pull some of that sherry flavor into the single malt Scotch. Same thing if you're using a virgin oak barrel, we'll refill them too. So that's why you can take Scotch whiskey and it'll be 25, 30 years, 40 years, and it won't get overpowered because that barrel has been used already. So it won't get overpowered wood. And also, listen, I wanted to back up to Tommy and Angel. Whenever we go on these trips, especially anywhere up in bourbon country, we always go as a team. So it'll be Angel, Tommy, usually Matt. And so when we do picking out our single barrel bourbons, we do it's a team effort, and they know what they're talking about, those guys. So I just want to bring that up.
Well, that's good. That's amazing. And one question about the barrels: how many times or how long do they use it, or how many? Or for how long do they can use this barrel? They continue using it, or it's only for a certain amount of time?
They can refill them as many times as they want, and that's up to the distiller. Because what happens is you can wear out a barrel. So let's say if it's on a second or third fill, they're probably not going to use it because it's not going to age. It's not going to change remember the liquid goes into the barrel clear.
Right.
So any color up is all from the wood. So from the wood.
Right. No, so that definitely the color. So that's why the different colors. And also tell me a little bit about the single malt versus the blend. I know a lot of people that told me, no, they only drink single malt, they or others only the blend, or sometimes people drinks what is the main difference you think in the taste? Do they vary from one to one?
They do, and it depends on the blended Scotch that you're looking at. You take a blended Scotch, there's different. You can run single malt Scotch, and also then they'll blend in what are called neutral grain spirits. Canadian whiskey is done the same way. So it depends on the lower the price is on your blended Scotches, the more neutral grain spirits that were blended into that. When you start getting up to your more expensive blended Scotches, like getting your Johnny Walker blues and golds, things like that, those will be 100% single malt Scotches that are blended together from different distilleries. Dewar's does the same thing. So that's the difference, is that a blended Scotch is a lot like a cigar, where a cigar will take tobacco from different regions and blend it into a cigar. The difference with malt or a blended Scotch, though, it has to use whiskey that came from Scotland, but it may take some whiskey that came from Islay. It may take some whiskey that's from the Highlands. It may take some whiskey that's from the Lowlands, and it'll blend those together, and that's how they get their different flavor profiles. So you can actually have there's some Dewar's that have a little bit of smokiness to it, and that's because it's got a peated malted whiskey from Islay that's blended into it. So that's how they do it. And blended Scotches are, the reason they can be cheaper is because you can play with how much single malt you put in it. Neutral grain spirits means this is spirits that come right off the still. They're unaged, they're clear. You can just blend it in, and it's not like water, but it's like alcohol. It's like blending vodka into it almost. It's much cheaper to make vodkas or things that aren't aged in barrels than it is to just put something in a barrel for 10 years.
So like when you drink like Johnny Black and Johnny Double Black, you can in the Double Black you can taste the smokiness a lot heavier than the regular Johnny Black. Gotcha.
Yeah, because they've added more whiskey from the Islay area. When you go to Islay, if you there's only two ways to get there. You got to either take a ferry or you got to take a plane. I always like to take the ferry, but on that ferry is always going to be, you'll always see usually 2 semi-tanker trucks that are full of Scotch whiskey. And those tanker trucks are leaving the island to go up to the blenders where they're going to blend it into whiskey.
So I'm having now, I had here with me also the regular blue label Johnny Walker, but also they had it. I saw a new release not long ago, part of the new cask edition, right? So they started having different, I guess, different cask. How is that? They get the same thing that you were explaining. They get different cask, and then they do an extra period of aging there.
What does it say on that cask? Does it say it's single malt?
No, no. This one says blended Scotch whiskey, but it just says the cask edition. So a bold and robust special release. They really let me see in the back. Let's see. They said no. They just in this particular one doesn't say anything about the type of cask. It just says the cask edition. So it might be different type of cask.
No, but what's the alcohol proof? What is it?
The alcohol proof. I'll tell you in a second. 55.8% alcohol volume.
That's why it's a cask. That's cask strength. So it's 110 proof, 111 proof. So that's what that is. That's not cut with water. So what happens if you have a blended Scotch, and most blended Scotches are going to be 80 proof, 40% alcohol. So how do you take, when it comes off of the still, and when it comes out of the barrel is usually 100, 120, between 120 and 130 proof, all right? And you can proof it down by adding water to it. So that cask one is actually a cask strength. That's why it's at a higher proof.
It's a higher proof. Also, Tim, can we take a minute to tell us a little bit about the deal that you have put together for Corona cigars that is starting tomorrow afternoon?
Sure, of course.
We'll have that.
So we're doing a special COVID-19 promotion to help relaunch some of the Jeff stores in conjunction with Altitude USA, Rafael Nodal, and Corona Cigars. If you come in and you spend $19.19 on Romeo, AG Romeo, Chapman, Monte Cristo, any of our great brands, and if you mention the show today or mention that you want to receive the #1 cigar of the year by Rafael Nodal, AG Room Quattro Nicaraguan, it will give you a free cigar spending $19.19.
Thank you. So Jeff, going back for a second, we wanted to have that special there. Tim told me to make sure I repeat it several times. He wanted to make sure that consumers we can celebrate the reopening of the Corona cigars. So question, how do you find the culture of the Scotches, right? Compared to the cigar culture that what you have seen in Nicaragua, in the growing, in Dominican, in Honduras, how do they do culture similar or different?
Similar. And the reason why they're similar is to appreciate here's the thing, like this, let's say this Highland Park 25, the whiskey. And so people will be like, well, why is a bottle of whiskey, let's say a 10-year bottle of single malt, let's say Glenlivet, might be $50, but yet you get into the 25s and 30s, these things can get up real high in price, 300 to, that Macallan, shoot, you get into the 30 and 40-year Macallans, you're getting a really high price, starting to approach the $1,000 mark. And matter of fact, if you get really old, some of the Macallans we have, the most expensive Macallan we sold was for $70,000 for one bottle. So when people are spending that kind of money, there's a reason. That's 70, and that was for a 72-year-old Macallan, by the way.
Wow,
that's older than all of us here. So
and probably a couple of us combined.
Yeah. But when you're dealing with something that's that old and that rare, let's look at this in cigar terms. How many cigar factories do you know of that would say, you know what? Let's make 5,000 cigars with some of our best tobaccos, and let's sit on them for 72 years before we sell them. About that commitment that takes. And so that's why when you get into some really old whiskeys, they're very expensive. Because the people that made that whiskey, they're all dead. They had no idea that this, and also a distiller that when you take whiskey that's going to age that long, it has to be the right whiskey. They're tasting that throughout the years, because you can overage a whiskey the same way you can over ferment a cigar or overage a cigar. You can actually age whiskey where it starts to get too many tannins and too much wood, where it actually starts to overpower all the other flavors that you want in a balanced whiskey. So, guys that buy whiskey, whether it's single malts or bourbons, they're very interested, and they're very interested in the lineage and the heritage of those
Very
distilleries.
True. Yeah, very true.
So basically, they do have the master blenders, or the blenders, I don't know the actual name, like we do have in the cigar business and in cigar factories, that are constantly checking every single aspect to see when this particular batch is good, right?
Master distillers, yes.
Master distiller, that's the word.
They're the guys running the distillery. Same way if you had the guy that's running a cigar factory, your master distillers are doing that. And they got to taste those barrels the same way a cigar has to continue to taste tobacco as it's aging in the warehouse, or it's in pilons, or even cigars that are rolled and aging in the aging room.
Right.
Same thing.
So lately, as I beginning to learn a little bit about the Scotch and the single malts and the different ones from the different areas and the different flavors and aromas that they have you noticed that in the last few years you have a renaissance of the Scotch as well, or this has always been there, I just didn't know about it?
There's been a renaissance in single malt Scotch. However, nothing can compare to the renaissance in single barrel bourbons. That's where we've really explosion. And I'm glad for that, because for a while the bourbon industry really wasn't getting into the single barrels and being very I don't want to use the word creative, but taking some chances. Like when Maker's Mark came out with their Private Select, aging the bourbon a second time in another barrel that has unique wood staves that are in it. That was something cutting edge for the bourbon industry. And the single barrels also, they'll think of it this way. If you have 10,000 barrels of whiskey that are in your warehouses, and they're all in these warehouses are located in different areas. Warehouses are a lot like this tobacco farm. If the field that's right over 50 yards from me performs different than the field I'm sitting in right now.
Amazing.
And on the other side of the farm performs differently than here. So when you're talking about bourbon that's in a warehouse, each warehouse has its own unique characteristics, because they're, one's a little higher in the ground than the other. One might have the sun facing a little different. One might have some wind that kind of blows gently around there. So they know which barrel houses produce different types of whiskey. And so these guys will check, and they know, they kind of know their special floors that they like, and they're constantly monitoring that. So if you're the master distiller, man, I knew I got a little section of barrels that are just
right.
Parts. And I don't want to dump them with 50 other barrels to make, because they vat whiskey. That's called vatting when they combine them all. Like, man, these are some special ones. Roll these off to the side. That's how the whole single barrel thing started. And every one of those barrels will taste different. You pair them with cigars. The whole idea is to come up with not only are they special tasting whiskey, but how they taste with a cigar. So every time you get any of our single barrel bourbons, they're all designed to pair well with this. They're super popular, by the way.
Rafa, next time when you go to Corona, you have to pick up a bottle of the Corona Select Russell's Reserve.
I do.
Fantastic.
I also recently been going over bourbon as well, so I have a few bottles that have been recommended. But Jeff, tell me a little bit also, because whenever you go, Jeff, I know you for a long time. Whenever you go into something, you really go very deep into something. And I've recently seen some videos of you visiting Mexico for some for tequila as well. It's do you find that the same thing that you find in the bourbon, the renaissance that you have recently, that visit that you have to tequila, to the tequila area, do you find why do you get into this thing?
Listen, Tim and I are chuckling because the way you say tequila, it sounds so beautiful, right?
It's funny. when I got to this country and I started college, I went to an accent reduction class, and a teacher recommended it, and I went. And funny because after the teacher was from Jamaica, and after 4 or 5 classes, I was getting a Jamaican accent, and I said, "Wait a minute, with this face, that's not gonna go." And so I have worked so hard to try to better pronunciation and have reduce my Enrique Ricardo accent. And funny, when I got into the cigar industry, I said, wait a minute, I should go back to my accent.
Go back to your accent.
That's a positive thing. I say that to you in a good way, because it's like when we have, I always say, like when we have a guy in the store speaking from a distillery on about single malt Scotch whiskey, I want him to have a Scottish accent, right? So if the guy's talking about cigars, having a Cuban accent or some sort of accent from where the countries where they come from, that adds credibility. Just
For
like
sure.
when I get guys from the bourbon thing, dude, I want this guy to have a Kentucky backwoods accent, man, because then I know. So that accent, you thought might be whatever. At this point, it's an asset for you. So appreciate
Sure.
it. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. But I felt good going back to my regular accent and things like that. My kids and my wife make a lot of fun when I don't have the right pronunciation, right? And there's some words that are very difficult because they might spell same but different accents or different things like that, or similar spelling, very different pronunciation. And I do have problem with a lot of words, but it's something that I am proud of my Ricky Ricardo accent. So that's something that I enjoy.
Well, Rafa,
All right.
it's one thing I want to say. You had a bottle the other day, which is a very good tequila. It's called Clase Azul. I was fortunate enough to turn Jeff onto that a few years ago. Every time you have to take a shot, you ring the bell. And the bottle that you have at your house is a Añejo, which is one of their rare ones. That's a really, really good bottle of tequila.
Right. Well, I must say that bottle is gone, but I did get another one. Recently, I met a very good friend. It turned out to be now a very good friend in Mexico. But I must say that tequilas is something that I discovered last year. Gordon Matt, we did a Cigar Aficionados at the Big Smoke, a pairing with tequilas. And I was very impressed because, for me, it was always rum, right? And we have actually done a pairing the previous year at the Big Smoke with Gordon and rum, different rums. And last year we did it with tequila. And I was extremely impressed with the different flavors and how well does they pair with the cigars. And the first bottle that my friend from Mexico is the owner of restaurants and has his own winery sent me was the Casa Dragones. And man, I fell in love, and I have really been drinking a lot of tequilas lately and finding the type of cigar that goes with it. And so the same thing with the Scott. I'm trying to find the different aspect, which cigars, which is aspect, and what tobacco from what area or origin that is prominent on the blend. Because although sometimes in the blend we use tobacco from Nicaragua, Dominican, Honduras, we're not using Cuba. We cannot use it yet. We will one day, hopefully. But the thing is, sometimes there's certain tobacco that are prominent, right, in that blend, that gives the prominent flavors on it. And I find that some of them pairs well with one liquor or another. But guys, as we get into the end of this broadcast, I would like to remind you that we have been talking to Jeff. Jeff, tell us again about the stores and when are they opening?
All right. So tomorrow, Monday, all the stores, our stores have been open except for a downtown Orlando one. But tomorrow, everything officially open, and you'll be allowed to have a cigar and sit down. Just stay 6 feet apart, but you'll be allowed to. And we don't have to worry about people going on the website. The state of Florida actually created a website. I call it the Narc on Your Neighbor website, where you can literally go online and complain about something. But anyway, you'll be able to sit there and not have to worry about the Narc on Your Neighbor website trying to shut us down. 6 feet apart, we'll be able to have a cigar. Actually, we'll be able to pour whiskey in a to-go cup. Pour you some whiskey too. So we're looking for all of our stores.
And that's fantastic, Jeff. It's something that we are celebrating, that we are going to be opening your stores and many other small businesses around. We have gone through a difficult time. We're still in the middle of a very difficult time. So being able to sit with friends and go back to some type of normality, right? It's something that is very, very incredible. A person like Tim that travels a lot, we are really looking, because there's a lot of people that are hurting, a lot of small business, which are the backbone of the economy in the United States. And it's something that we are really celebrating. But guys, I would like to say thank you very much to Jeff and Tim for joining us on this cigar break. I appreciate it, Jeff, that you have been from the farm. You brought us some amazing scotches and something that I'm very proud. Tim, thank you very much. Look at that beautiful farm, guys. And as we go to the end of this cigar break at the Cigar Life, again, I would like to say thank you to Jeff, thank you to Jim, and to Tim for an amazing afternoon. Guys, cheers, relax, and Dane, please take us home.